we need to talk, and it's probably not going to be much of a fun one. Some really messed up stuff happened this week, and it's got me rethinking a lot of things. In today's Low Income Resource Recap, we're going to be talking about the shocking scandal surrounding Modest Needs, which is a charity that I have supported and recommended to you and talked to you guys about a lot over the years. We're also going to expose a new housing voucher scam that's out there targeting seniors. And I'm going to warn you about a dangerous app that you absolutely need to avoid at all costs, no matter what. And then I'm going to share some other resources for you as well. Please know that it's not all doom and gloom, even though it may feel like it here for a while. We do have some exciting news about some new financial assistance programs and different things that are happening. And I think there's a chance I might even do something a little bit crazy at the end of this video, because there's been some stuff that's been on my mind lately that I really want to talk to you guys about. I know I've said for years that low income relief is just an information service and we don't give out money directly and all of that. But I'm thinking with everything that's going on, maybe that needs to change, and maybe we need to be a little bit more proactive with the sort of help that we provide here. It's been on my mind for a while, but really we should talk about that later. I should get to the other things first and then maybe clear up some brain space so that we can talk about that in a minute. So right now, let's talk about the thing with Modest Needs. So you guys know I try not to get emotional on this channel, and I'm going to tell you right now that ship has already sailed today. I am really emotionally compromised by a lot of the things that have happened this week. So for those of you who are regulars here, you know that I've talked about Modest Needs a lot over the years. We have mentioned it in a lot of videos. We have talked about it in a lot of articles on the website. I have loved this organization and its mission because I believed in what they were trying to do. And their purpose, for those of you who aren't familiar, was to help people who were working but not making enough to get by make ends meet. So there's a really common saying that says that most people in America are 1 to 2 paychecks away from basically homelessness. And so Modest Needs was there for people who maybe had an emergency car repair or had something go wrong medically, and then they had to miss work or whatever, and they couldn't meet their expenses. And maybe that was going to mean that they couldn't pay their rent, and then they might end up homeless. So to stop all of that from happening, Modest Needs was there to help kind of step in and bridge the gap and help people get small, modest little grants to help cover their expenses so that they could maintain their own stability. Great mission. Love the mission. Still believe in the mission. Not necessarily so much in the leadership of the organization or maybe that particular charity, but I still love that mission. So much so that I've been giving monthly contributions to Modest Needs for a long time. Anyway, the Department of Justice recently announced that Keith Taylor, the founder of Modest Needs, has been accused of stealing millions of dollars that were meant to help struggling families just like yours. I know many of you trusted this organization, partially probably because I recommended it so many times, and I am so sorry because I missed the mark on this one. Modest Needs was highly recommended by many people and many sources, including, I think, Oprah. I think we all missed the mark on this one. But nobody missed that mark more than Keith Taylor. It sounds like he seriously abused his position of trust. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, he is accused of embezzling more than $2.5 million in donations. Instead of helping low-income people pay their rent or fix their cars or overcome a challenge, that money was used for Mr. Taylor's own personal enjoyment. The DOJ claims that he spent over $320,000 at expensive high-end restaurants in downtown Manhattan, where sometimes he dined twice a day. He used another $300,000 to pay rent for a luxury apartment on the 30th floor of a midtown Manhattan skyscraper. He spent another $100,000 on food delivery and put $270,000 right in his own personal brokerage account. The DOJ alleges that he used the charity's accounts to pay his own personal expenses and at one point even used donations meant to help the poor for his own cosmetic surgery. These are astronomical sums of money that a lot of people have a hard time even imagining. When people ask for help on modest needs, they usually receive a grant worth somewhere between $750 and $1,250. That means that Keith Taylor spent about 240 grants worth of money at restaurants alone. That $250 million that was embezzled could have helped 2,000 households who were struggling. 2,000. But it didn't even stop there. Keith Taylor carefully covered his tracks. The DOJ says that he created a fake board of directors for the charity and claimed that they had approved all the spending. This board apparently included his housekeeper, a personal friend, and a bartender from one of the expensive restaurants that he liked. And here's the really fun part. Those people had no idea. They didn't know about it. The reports that I read said that they had no idea they were listed on the board. No idea they were on the Modest Needs website. Never attended a board meeting, knew nothing about it. Now, of course, the page with all the information about the team bios and the board of directors and everything has been removed from the Modest Needs website and returns a 404 error now, even though the Modest Needs website is still up and accepting donations, which is... I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that. I definitely have my own opinions. On top of all that, though, Keith Taylor didn't bother to file personal tax returns or pay taxes on the income he received. So, of course, he's been charged with 6 counts of tax evasion as well, on top of the wire fraud, aggressive identity theft, and all of that other fun stuff. This makes me really angry. And honestly, it makes me quite heartsick. I have always been careful about the programs I recommend to you on this channel. I have so much regret over recommending this one, which I did often. But like I said, I genuinely believed in this to the point where I put money behind this. And I'm so sad to think that that money may have just gone to Keith Taylor's own luxury lifestyle instead of serving people who legitimately needed the help. Anyway, I'm going to move on because I could rant about that all day. I've been ranting about that all day. Probably not a healthy choice. I wish that was all the bad news I had for you today. I really do. But Keith Taylor's not the only one out there who's just not entirely honest. There are so many scammers out there that are just waiting to make a quick buck off of you, and it makes me sick. We are starting to see reports of a new low-income housing voucher scam that is just popping up. It's a really big problem in Michigan right now, but these things always spread like wildfire. As soon as scammers see that it works in one place, they just take it everywhere, right? So you need to be careful about this no matter where you are. So, as you know, housing vouchers are a type of government assistance that helps people with low incomes pay their rent. Everyone is struggling with housing costs right now, and scammers know that. So they're creating fake ads, and they're advertising easy-to-get housing vouchers that clearly don't exist because you and I know that those housing vouchers are not easy to get. But their goal isn't to help you get a voucher. They don't care. They want to get your personal information. So basically, it works like this. They go and they copy the name and the logo and the branding from your local housing authority. And they use those assets to create websites, online forms, printed flyers, all sorts of material that looks really legit. And because they're using the housing authority's marks, it looks like it's coming from the government or the housing authority. It looks very believable. But instead of having the real website or the real phone number there for you, it has a fake website or a fake phone number that takes you right to the scammer. And then the scammer will tell you, oh, we're going to help you fill out your application. So they ask you for all the usual application stuff, like your name, your social security number, your contact information, household information, how many kids do you have, what's everybody's birthdays, all the sort of things that people need to steal your identity. But people expect to have to give that to complete an application. When you fill out an application, you usually need to give all of that stuff. And it looks like it's the housing authority, so people trust it. And then their identities get stolen or something bad happens because they gave that information to the wrong person. So please be careful out there. A scammer does not have to ask you for money to do damage to you. If they get the right information, they can steal your identity and wreak havoc on your life. So please remember, never pay for housing assistance applications. Always make sure that you call the housing authority. Do not click suspicious links. Do not call unfamiliar phone numbers. If you want to call them, look up the number for your local housing authority and then call that number. Don't just trust whatever the ad says or whatever the website says, because it could be lying to you. So now more than ever, you need to be skeptical of everything you see. It is so easy for people to fake stuff online, especially right now with all the AI tools and everything that is out there. You have to be so careful. And that brings me to my next point. It is getting harder and harder to trust what you see online. You have no idea how many different companies have offered me ridiculous amounts of money to promote things to you. And usually I turn them down. I'm not kidding. Our team rejects more than 90% of the sponsorship offers we receive because I am really, really picky about what I'm willing to recommend to you. This is my face, my name, my reputation on the line, and I'm not going to sell out just to make some money. That's not how it works. My integrity is too important for that. So, and not to mention, I deeply care about you guys. I do not like it when people try to prey on you. So I read the contracts. I study the terms of service. I am not a lawyer. In fact, that's probably something I should take a minute and disclaim really hard right here, because I'm going to say some things that are going to make some people mad. So I am not a lawyer. I am not a social worker. I am not a credentialed person of any kind. I am a researcher and a journalist and a person who reads through things, studies them out, asks entirely too many questions. But as far as what I'm about to tell you, I'm not a lawyer, so don't sue me. Okay. Now that we've got that covered, I need you to understand that I do my best to make sure that whatever I recommend to you is going to be worth your time and something that you can trust. Because I'm not willing to compromise my own integrity to recommend something that would hurt you. That's stupid. That being said, there are other people who are willing to do that. And sometimes they're not even malicious. They just don't ask the right questions. So for people who are doing YouTube, we're all people. I hope you're aware of that. Very few YouTubers are actually experts in their field, just so you know. But if you're presented with a contract and you take everything the company says at face value, sometimes these offers can sound really great. And so there are people out there who think that they're helping you when they recommend a service that really could actually hurt you. And that makes it really hard to discern what is safe and what is true. And I'm telling you this because there's a company that emails me periodically, usually every couple of years. I've never accepted money from them. I will never accept money from them. Frankly, I don't even answer their emails anymore, but I stay on the list because I want to know when they're looking for advertisers so that I can tell you the information that you need to know to stay safe. Of course, they're probably going to kick me off their list if they see this, but that's a different issue. So on the surface, this particular product seems good. They say they'll pay you to take surveys. That seems pretty harmless, right? You guys know that I love services that pay you for passive things like surveys. I promote stuff like this all the time. I am probably one of the biggest fans of swag bucks on the planet. I've told you how I used it to cover Christmas for my kids. I always tell you to go to lirlinks.com/swag if you want to make money from surveys. And still, if you want to make money from surveys, go to swag bucks. Don't do this other thing that contacted me. Because the company that reached out to me is not swag bucks. It's PawnsApp. This company is relatively unheard of and, in my opinion, very dangerous. Another disclosure. Everything I'm going to say to you is my own opinion, still not a lawyer, so on and so forth, just so we're all on the same page. Because here's the thing. When you read over the information on their website, they are not just paying you to take surveys. When you download the app, you agree to share your internet connection with other people. That means that someone else, not with you, can go through your device, use your internet to do things like watch videos, visit websites, and other stuff. And you don't get to know who's using the internet connection, and you don't get to know what they're doing with it. You just have to trust that the good people at Pawns App won't let them do anything too bad with it. But in the terms and conditions, it says that, you might be affected. The ads that you see online could be influenced by what these strangers are doing through your internet, because you've probably noticed by now that a lot of the advertising on the internet is contextual. So if you're shopping for something on Amazon, you go to a different website, you're going to see that thing pop up again and again, right? That retargeted advertising is very common. And that means that if someone else is using your internet connection to use the internet, you might see ads based on whatever they're doing, even if you find that particular material offensive. If you're using this app, there's really nothing you can do about that. You may encounter more security checks because your web traffic is going to start to look suspicious. Depending on whatever the people using your internet are doing, you may not be able to use certain streaming services or access certain websites at certain times. Things might get a little weird. And here's another really fun thing. The Pawns App terms also say that you are completely responsible for making sure that your internet company is okay with what they're doing. If you are paying for your internet based on the amount of data that you use, you could end up paying more for your internet service because someone else is using your data. And of course, the terms for Pawns App say that you're responsible for those extra charges. So they're going to pay you like $5 to $10 a month to use your internet, and you might end up paying more than that, so you could end up taking a loss. There's so much wrong with this, in my opinion. So much. Oh, especially because the terms and conditions also say they can change at any time and they don't have to tell you. So by downloading and using the app, you automatically agree with whatever changes they make later, even if you don't know about them. As soon as they make the changes, you're kind of bound by them, which is a very scary place to be legally, in my opinion. I'm trying to say in my opinion a lot. But the company says this is all okay because they'll protect your privacy and stuff. Except in the terms, their contract is governed by the country of Belize. Not super familiar with Belize, but I know that they don't have the same privacy policies and same privacy protections as, say, the United States or Europe. So if you're not familiar with the laws that are governing this, that could impact you as well. So, of course, Pawns App is really, really good at covering themselves from a liability perspective. They have a very well-stated lack of liability for basically anything. If anything goes wrong or you suffer consequences from using the app, it's all on you. Pawns App is not required to provide you with any support or compensation to you if something goes wrong. Now, I know I'm being really sarcastic through this whole section, but I want to make it absolutely clear that I do not endorse this app at all. I think it is dangerous. I think it is bad. I think it is a very, very bad choice. I personally would never use it or allow it to be installed on any device in my home for any reason at any point in time. I mean, seriously, the company is called Pawns App. They openly call their users pawns. The literal definition of a pawn is, quote, a person used by others for their own purposes, end quote. They aren't even shy about admitting that they're using people. It's right there. It's out in the open. But here's the thing. Why am I telling you all of this? I know I've been going on and on for a few minutes now, and hopefully you're still with me because I know I'm a little scattered today. Why am I telling you this? Because you're going to see people promoting this. You're going to hear good things about it. People are going to tell you, you can make $10 a month doing absolutely nothing. You just have to download it. They're not going to tell you that you're sharing your internet. They're going to tell you about all the money you can make and how effortless it is and how great it is. But the real reason you're going to hear about it is because the company is paying people to tell you that. They have a user referral program that pays people $3 for every person they bring and a 10% commission for each person who signs up. So they wanted me to sell this to you. I don't want those commissions because I do not want this app on your device. I think it is bad for you. But if other people are telling you about how great it is, think about the money that they're making off of convincing you to do it. Because if they have a financial motivation to do the thing, sometimes that clouds people's judgment a little bit, and it makes things hard. There is a lot of money in selling stuff like this, and usually I've been doing this for 10 years, and usually the more money they offer you, the more likely you should probably not do that thing. Because the people who are really worth endorsing know they have a good product and usually don't have to motivate people so hard. Personal opinion, personal experience, just saying. Just please take whatever you hear about this from other people with a healthy dose of skepticism. I'm not going to accept this contract. I'm never going to mention them again unless they come back and try to get me to sponsor them again, in which case every time they do this, I come on here and tell you how horrible they are. So hopefully eventually they'll go away. Just be careful, guys. I worry about you. I worry about everybody, honestly, with the state of the internet these days. But just remember, do not install Pawns app no matter what anybody says. Okay. Sorry, I think we're at like the 20-minute mark now, and I just keep ranting. This is what happens when I don't take very good notes, guys. And when I'm really, really mad. So, sorry about that. Downside of being live with you guys, I don't really get my editor to filter me. So, now that I've said all of that, let's move on to some happier news, because it's about darn time. So, I'm going to try to be quick with this, because I know I've already taken enough of your time, and I want to get to that end part where I tell you the really, exciting and happy thing that I want to do. So, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case involving Medicare. Around 200 hospitals have claimed that the government is not paying them properly, and rural hospitals are at risk of closing over it. We've seen a lot of hospitals close in rural areas, especially out in Kansas and other places where Medicaid hasn't been expanded fast enough. So the hope is that this Supreme Court case will correct the situation. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has also proposed new rules that would stop medical debt from showing up on credit reports. In the official remarks, it was pointed out that many medical bills contain errors, and patients don't know how to find them, so sometimes they go uncontested. And patients often get caught between hospitals and insurance companies who refuse to pay and end up going back and forth until they just give up. I know, because I've been there. After my husband's hospital stay in 2019, I was standing in the room when the nurse called the VA and the VA agreed to pay. And it's been 5 years and I'm not even sure that bill has been paid because they keep trying to make me pay it. And it sucks because I think both sides are just counting on me getting tired and surrendering, because a lot of people do. And I've seen that happen to people I love over and over and over again. Now, to make it even worse, many hospitals also don't advertise the financial assistance programs that their patients are eligible for either. I've said this a lot recently, but I think all nonprofit hospitals have to offer charity care as a part of their tax exempt status, but they don't tell you that, right? And so then you get billed for it and you shouldn't have been, which is, a nightmare in and of itself. But as a result, sorry, I started ranting again. Apologize. As a result of all of this, the end thing here is that a lot of patients end up billed more money than they should have been charged for things they never should have had to pay in the first place. Those bills often end up in collections because people can't afford them, and they just sit there until maybe that person wants to buy a house or get an apartment or make a purchase, but their credit's bad because now there's a medical bill there, and so somehow they have to find the money to clear the collection. And there was a lot of remarks about this in what I read from the CFPB, but basically they want to remove that leverage so that medical companies actually have an incentive to, bill properly, bill the insurance companies, get their money the right way instead of just waiting until, the patients don't really have a choice but to deal with it. So I'm kind of hoping that goes through because I could see a lot of benefits to that. They're saying that 15 million Americans would be affected by this change if it went into effect. And I think they said the average person would see a credit score increase of 20 points, which can be pretty good. So, okay, we do have some local news items this week as well. A lot of it is utilities related or free air conditioners. There was a e-bike voucher, just a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm just going to put that on the website because we are running out of time and I have a place I'm supposed to be. So we've got updates for Alaska, Colorado, Georgia, Hawaii, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. If you're curious about those, you can head over to lowincomerelief.com/news and click on the most recent post to check that out. But now I want to talk to you really quickly about that thing that I can't stop thinking about. And going to try not to rant too much and try not to ramble because I know we keep running over on time. So every week when I do these, I get frustrated because I have to weed through scams and misinformation and misrepresented help and just all of this stuff. And it's so frustrating. And sometimes I start to feel pretty hopeless about stuff. And I guess I'm extra sensitive to that right now since a charity that I trusted also turned out to be so corrupt. It's hard not to get cynical sometimes. But there are some things that I know to be true. Number one, there are millions of people across America who need help and aren't getting it. Number two, there aren't enough charities and organizations out there to meet the demand. There just aren't. And number three, I believe it's our responsibility individually to be the change that we want to see in the world. So for more than 10 years, I've been researching poverty programs and trying to help you find the help that's out there. But I think I want to do more than that. So here's the thing. I can't afford to help everyone. Sadly, not a billionaire. Right now, I'm working multiple jobs just to help my family pay our own bills. So I can't do a lot, but I think I can do something. And I still have to fully flesh this out with my team. I want to check, obviously with my accountant, make sure everything's going to be okay. And then I want to check maybe with some different organizations, make sure that if I do this, it won't affect anyone in a negative way. I know sometimes if you get help from different places, it can impact your benefits. And I want to make sure that we fully understand the consequences of this before I take any definitive action. But what I want to do, if we can figure out how to put this together, is start giving away about $150 a month in gift cards. And like I said, I still need to finalize the details with everyone so we can figure out how we're going to do this in the way that maximizes the help and minimizes risk for everyone involved. But my hope is that we'll call it like $150 grocery grant or something like that. The idea that I had, because I'm going to admit to you right now, I don't have a whole ton of extra time. So anything I do is not going to have a lot of hoops because I just don't have time to manage all of that. So my thought, this isn't a promise, it's just my thought. My thought is that we'll just choose one of our email subscribers at random on the first business day of each month and then send that person a giftogram so that they can choose the gift card of their choice. Giftogram is really cool because I just send an email and then you can choose like how you want to redeem that. So it's really nice. The idea would be that this would help with groceries or basic needs or something like that, but that's a griftogram. So, I mean, if you pick Red Lobster or whatever, that's on you. I don't have any control over that. If this goes the way that I think it will, as I talk to all the different people that need to help me put this together, my hope is that the only thing that would need to be done is that you just need to register for our email list, which I don't even care if I get your name. I just need to know where to send the email to. So you can just put that in at email.lowincomерelief.com. If you aren't already registered, I'd recommend doing that now because I'm really hoping to get everybody on board with this so that we can start it in July. But like I said, I need to coordinate with some people and make sure that we're all on board with this. But I'm really, really hoping, and I was really, really excited about it. So I really, really didn't want to wait to tell you guys that because I like you guys. So, and on that note, I was thinking about it. And I just want to take a moment and really thank those of you who support this channel because I know there are so many of you that just consistently watch our videos, consistently leave comments. And for those of you who pop up in the comments a lot, I know your names and I care about you deeply. We've had a lot of you in our community for a long time, like Mrs. Alma, Kova, Daniel, Lester, Aisha, Aaron, and all of our channel members, and just so many of you. And I hate to even mention specific names in the list because those are the ones that are just popping in my head. And I know I probably forgot someone and I don't want anyone to feel left out or forgotten just because I'm a bit of an airhead sometimes. I truly do look forward to all of your comments, even when I don't have the energy to respond to all of them. I've had some stuff going on lately and I haven't always been as active in replying as I want to be, but I hope you know that I do adore you all. So while we wait for the final details to come together on the upcoming grant giveaway program thing, whatever that I'm trying to put together, I don't even know what to call it right now. I just want to kind of start with a show of appreciation. So Mrs. Alma always shows up right away in the comments on every video I do, not only on this channel, but on several of my other channels as well. And I love that. She always leaves the most positive and encouraging comments. I always look forward to those. I know if I'm having a bad day and I put a video out there, I'm going to get a comment, and I just love that. So Mrs. Elma, if you're watching, I would like to start by, I know you're watching, but I'd like to start by sending you a token of my appreciation for your constant support over the last, what's it been, more than 5 years? So if you could email team@lowincomerelief.com, that'll connect you with my assistant. And then once we have your email address, I'd like to send something over to you. And Kova, if you're watching, please do the same. I haven't seen you in the comments lately, and I know, anyway, so you're very dear to my heart as well. So if you can just do that, that'd be great. Again, that's team@lowincomerelief.com. And I think that about wraps it up for today. Please head over to email.lowincomerelief.com to subscribe to that email list, and I'll get that monthly thing sorted out as quickly as I can. I hope you have a great day. Please don't forget to share this video with others to protect them from those scams we talked about. I will see you again soon.